Have you ever wondered why you never see a polar bear and a penguin in the same nature documentary? It's not just a coincidence. Polar bears are in the Arctic, the North Pole, while penguins are almost exclusively found in the Southern Hemisphere. So, why don't these iconic black and white birds live up north? The answer is a fascinating story of ancient history, a deadly barrier and some very tough competition. Let's rewind the clock about 60 million years. Dinosaurs have just vanished, and the ancestors of modern penguins are starting to appear. Fossil evidence, like the ancient penguin Waimanu found in New Zealand, tells us that penguins evolved entirely in the Southern Hemisphere. For millions of years, they developed and perfected their unique way of life in complete isolation, long before the Arctic even had its permanent ice cap. They simply never had a reason to head north because their entire world, their food, and their breeding grounds were all in the south. Now you might be thinking, couldn't they just swim north? Well, for a penguin, that's a suicide mission. The biggest obstacle is the equator. Penguins are masters of the cold. Their bodies are incredible thermal machines, with a thick layer of blubber and dense waterproof feathers that trap heat. This is perfect for the frigid waters of Antarctica, but it's a huge problem in the tropics. As they approach the equator, the water temperature rises dramatically. A penguin trying to swim through these warm waters would quickly overheat, much like you would trying to jog in a heavy winter coat on a hot summer day. It's simply too much for their bodies to handle. But the heat isn't the only problem. The warm tropical waters around the equator are often called an ocean desert. They lack the rich nutrients and abundant fish that penguins rely on. The cold, upwelling currents of the Southern Ocean create a massive buffet of krill, squid, and fish that fuels the entire Antarctic ecosystem. For penguins, who are specialized diving machines, a long journey through the food-scarce tropics would be a journey of starvation. So, this band of warm, unproductive water acts as an impassable, invisible wall, effectively trapping them in the Southern Hemisphere. The only species that has managed to get a tiny foothold just north of the equator is the Galapagos penguin, but it survives only because of the cold, nutrient-rich Humboldt Current that flows up from the Antarctic, creating a unique, cool microclimate. Okay, let's imagine for a moment that a group of penguins somehow managed to survive the journey and made it to the Arctic. What would they find? Unfortunately, a whole new set of dangers they are completely unprepared for. One of the key reasons penguins thrive in places like Antarctica is the lack of land-based predators. When they're on land, nesting and raising their chicks, they are incredibly vulnerable. In the Antarctic, their main worries are in the water, like leopard seals and orcas, or from the sky, from birds like skuas. But on the ground, they're relatively safe. Now picture the Arctic. It's a polar ocean surrounded by continents teeming with hungry land carnivores. A penguin colony trying to set up a home there would be an all-you-can-eat buffet for polar bears, Arctic foxes, and even wolves. These predators are experts at hunting on both land and ice. Penguins, being flightless and a bit clumsy on their feet, would have no defense. Their entire evolutionary history has been in a world without these kinds of threats, so they never developed the instincts or abilities to escape them. It would be a massacre. But the dangers don't stop with predators. Even if they could avoid being eaten, they'd run into another major problem: competition. The Arctic isn't an empty apartment waiting for a new tenant. The ecological niche that a penguin would occupy, a diving seabird that feeds on small fish, is already taken. Meet the alcids. This family of birds includes puffins, murreys, and guillemots. They look strikingly similar to penguins, with their black and white plumage and upright posture. They are also expert divers and swimmers, but they have one crucial advantage that penguins gave up millions of years ago: they can fly. This ability to fly means they can escape land predators by nesting on inaccessible cliffs and travel long distances more efficiently to find food. In a head-to-head competition for resources in the predator-filled Arctic, the flying alcids will outcompete the flightless penguins every time. It's a classic case of, this town ain't big enough for the both of us. In fact, the Northern Hemisphere once had its own penguin, the great auk. It was a large, flightless black and white bird that lived in the North Atlantic. Sadly, It was hunted to extinction in the 19th century. Its fate is a grim reminder of how vulnerable a flightless bird is in the north, especially to human pressures. So, when you put it all together, the reason penguins are southerner is crystal clear. They evolved in the south and have been geographically trapped there by an impassable warm water barrier. Even if they could cross it, they wouldn't survive the onslaught of land predators and would be outcompeted by their flying northern counterparts. Their story is a powerful example of how evolution, geography, and ecology work together to shape the distribution of life on our planet. They are perfectly adapted for their world, and their world is, and always has been, in the south. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the world of penguins. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more explorations into our amazing natural world. We'll see you in the next video.